So as a youngish curate at Brentwood Cathedral, after I was ordained, I got on very well with the mums and dads in the parish, and people said I came across as a cheerful priest. I used to get called this, which always really annoyed me. He said, "Oh, Father, you're so normal." I'm like, what does that mean? What does being normal mean? You know, but apparently it's a compliment for a priest, and if they call you holy, that's not so good. Go figure. I don't know. Anyway, so I used to enjoy myself there. The parish was fun, and we had lots of fun in the parish until it got to preaching. My preaching style has changed a bit over the years. So I'd be all smiles, and as soon as the gospel finished, my face would go ashen. And I'd become very serious, and I would preach the truth. You see, I was just out of seminary, so I knew it all, obviously. I knew it all, and I was going to give the truth to the people of God so they understood what the church's teaching was and what Jesus required of them. Yeah? So that was how it was. And you might be thinking, well, that's not how Father James normally preaches, but perhaps last week you were a bit surprised by the topic. It kind of came out of the blue, didn't it? We were speaking about the serious topic of abortion. And I'm aware that that would have taken some people by surprise, being a sensitive subject. So if it took you by surprise and you weren't ready for it, and maybe it sparked awkward conversations at home, I'm sorry for that, and I really am. But I also hope that it did spark a more meaningful conversation at home as well. So I'm not springing on you this week. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about from the very start. Because people have been asking me, they say, Father, why don't you talk about some more thorny issues, things that can help us to speak with our workmates about these things, because they come up a lot, don't they? You know, what does the church say on that, or what does the church say on that? So this week, I'm going to talk about LGBT issues, the church's position, its teaching, and also our attitude as a church, and how we can better understand and also talk about these things to our colleagues. LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. That's the kind of the moniker under which that falls, that identity. And I want to go to the gospel and see, well, what's Jesus' attitude to people who would have been considered in their day as LGBT people will be considered in our day, and particularly in recent history, right up until modern day, as to being on the margins, on the fringes of society. Well, we take the example of anyone Jesus meets. He never looks at the label. He always hears of their reputation, because everyone around Jesus is talking about, oh, don't talk to that person because they're a tax collector. Don't talk to that person because they're a sinner, whatever that means. Don't talk to that person because they're a prostitute. You know, so all of these labels which help to marginalize people were the ones that Jesus encountered. And what did he always do when he encountered people who'd been labeled this way? He looked right past the label and he went straight for the person. Take the example in Luke's Gospel. We're just starting on Luke's Gospel today in Year C. In chapter 9 of Luke's Gospel, Jesus meets a man called Zacchaeus, a very marginal figure. He's a tax collector, so you think, well, nobody likes a tax collector, right? And I know that because I've got to fill my tax returns in the next few days. Nobody likes a tax collector, but this is how bad he was, or how marginal he was considered. He was a tax collector for the Romans, and he took from the Jews, and he was Jewish himself. That was a big betrayal. And so this Zacchaeus wanted to meet Jesus, and he was pushed away. He had to climb up a tree. Jesus sees Zacchaeus, and he says, Zacchaeus. Now, he doesn't say, Zacchaeus, stop collecting taxes from my friends before I'll speak to you. He says, Zacchaeus, where do you live? Because I must eat at your house today. Straight past the label. Straight to the person. And then Zacchaeus, he almost carries the social pressure of his position, because he gets down and he says to Jesus, look, I'm gonna pay back fourfold everything I've taken. I'm gonna restore all the things I've taken. Just please like me, in other words. And Jesus ignores it. He looks past it, and he says, well, we're going to have dinner at your house. Pass the labels to the person. And we never hear what happened to Zacchaeus afterwards. It's not as if it says, and then Zacchaeus stopped collecting taxes. then he stopped being a marginal figure. He became a central figure because Jesus had decided to include him. Regardless of his lifestyle, regardless of his behavior, Jesus loved him. Zacchaeus had a chance to come close to Jesus. And isn't that what our church is all about? Isn't that what the church is here for? To bring Jesus to people. To be a place where people meet Jesus and have their lives transformed. It was what Jesus did throughout his ministry. Jesus comes to preach the good news to those who are considered to be on the edges of our society. Jesus comes to be with people who carry labels, to encounter the person, whether they're lesbian, gay, bisexual or transgender, or in any form of lifestyle. Jesus doesn't say it's unimportant. He doesn't sacrifice truth, but he places a priority on love so that we can encounter Jesus in truth. Now, when I was first ordained, I very much insisted on truth first, and then you get to love. But I actually think it's the other way around. Love, openness, respect gets us to truth. It gets us to Jesus. And I remember when I was 21, I was applying for seminary, and I had to go for a psychological assessment. So if you want to blame anyone for why I'm here, blame the psychologist who gave me the green tick saying I could go to seminary, right? And but he really took me to the cleanest. He really challenged me. And one of the things he asked about was, what would you do? He put me in all these awkward situations. And he said, what would you do if, as parish priest, a gay person comes to you and they say, I'm a Catholic, I want to come to church, but I'm living in a relationship with my boyfriend or my girlfriend, and yeah, what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, I'll say, well, first of all, you must stop this behaviour, and you must do this, that, and the other before you come to Mass. Otherwise, it's very serious. And the psychologist sort of nodded to me with the wisdom of years, and he said, I want to read you a quote, or a quote that I learned from another psychologist, and it's this. It says, "You have only truth and no love, and that is why you are so unfair." And that stuck with me. My attitude, which was loving, which was to insist on truth first, love later, could have actually closed the door on many people and their encounter with the Lord Jesus Christ. With Jesus, it's always love first, because love establishes a relationship, and in a relationship we can grow together. We can learn more, we can be more tolerant and accepting, we can grow together as a family. Because let's face it, is everyone in all your families here a perfect saint? And hands up? No one is. Our families come in all shapes and sizes, like people of all different persuasions and lifestyles and whatever you name it, they're all there. But come Christmas Day, or whenever you get together, we're all sitting at the same table. And that's God's church. We open the doors, we open our hearts, we accept and love, and we journey towards the truth together. Amen.